Kyle is excited and nervous to start free beer and hot wings tomorrow. Everybody tune in at 6 a.m. to 97.9 WGRD to see if I make it on air.
I must dance with you today. I saw the look in your eyes was calling me. Show me the path that I will take. Simply thinking about it makes my heart race. All of my senses are asking for more. We cannot do this in a rush. I want to undress you in kisses slowly.
Because I don't have a single clue as to what he was saying. Took 2 years of Spanish, by the way. Dos.
Oh, dos años de español?
What?
Yeah.
No, I said dos. Serranos.
First question. Was I reading like a romance novel or something in that? What the hell?
Yeah, so, I've talked about this occasionally.
Did I fall victim to the old Kyle needs a time filler?
That's the one, Steve. That's the age-old trick of sometimes the bits or the little portions I pull.
Yeah.
From last week's episode simply don't match up time-wise.
Okay.
So sometimes I go digging through the archives, and
that's what you get. You get me reading sleazy romance novels.
Yeah, and again, this doesn't matter to anybody, and I don't know why I've taken it upon me to do it this way, but I decide that if there's two Kyle, we'll do one Steve-centric one in the middle. If it's two Steve, we'll do one Kyle in the middle.
Maybe
whatever.
Switch it up every week.
And this week happened to be need a Steve time filler week. So again, I've talked about this, and it's a game that someday I want to play because Kyle went digging through the archives. To find.
Can it be a new game called like Name That Context?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
perfect.
the only thing I want.
I love it.
I have so many of these out of context, no idea where they came from. Intro pieces that I've used, and I save them. I don't need to, but for this, and I'm glad I have in hindsight. I'm to fill these weird gaps that I need to, and this one happened to fall on. I needed a 17-seconder, and that happened to be, Steve, the time you decided to sultrily,
yeah, it was sultry.
Read the lyrics to the hit Despacito.
Oh, Despacito. Yeah.
The song
Daddy
of
Yankee and
Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
That was it the song of, was it 2018?
Yeah,
or
probably.
was that this last year?
No, it was like 2018, maybe 2017.
Man.
Because that song, like, it was huge. It had the record on YouTube for, like, most views ever. I'm pretty sure it got passed by something else, but yeah, okay. I would have had no idea what that was.
I mean, we've got ones of Kyle Christmas Present. I've got Kyle, How Does This Keep Happening? Kyle, I Can't Endure Another Christmas.
That's, like, Christmas is done?
Steve, we need to figure out what this podcast is. Steve.
And what, that was probably from like 3 weeks ago. 4 years into this podcast, and we're still trying to really find our groove.
Now, this is one that I'm going to have to listen to when we're done recording here today. Steve, we could use an Ethan Suplee. In what context were we even talking about Ethan Suplee, the actor?
By the way, have you seen him recently?
That the guy? Is that the thing? The link I saw this week of the super jacked dude?
Yes.
I didn't think that was Ethan Suplee, though. I thought that was a different guy from Varsity Blues.
No, you're thinking of Billy Bob from Varsity Blues, who is dead.
Huh.
Yeah, Ethan Suplee from
that took a turn.
From Remember the Titans, and what was the TV show he was on?
Wasn't he on Boy Meets World? Didn't he play?
He was on Boy Meets World.
Dick Van Vader's son.
Yep.
On Boy Meets World.
But yeah, he is unrecognizable these days because he was a massive guy He played, I think in Remember the Titans, his name was like Louis Lastic, or which sounds terrible now. That
sounds like a Marvel character name. Yeah. Let me pull this up because now I'm curious.
Yeah, this dude, he has lost a ton of weight.
Oh, good for him.
I mean, he was big. He was probably pushing 4 bills, if not 400 pounds. And he basically had a massive eating addiction. He's righted the ship in the last couple of years, lost a ton of weight, and is now like a jacked bodybuilder.
Really?
Doesn't even look. He has a full beard now, like a big bushy beard. So looking at him, maybe if he shaved, he'd still look similar, but doesn't look anything like he used to.
Because he always was that. He even in his probably in his 20s playing high school type of thing, playing a high schooler. But he always had a baby face.
Yeah, he did.
Like, so it looked like he always fit the bill to a degree. But yeah, oh boy. Look at that beefcake.
Seriously.
That's a good-looking dude right there.
Hubba, right?
I mean, he's wearing a hat, and the recent pictures of him even overweight, you can tell that he was probably losing his hair.
Yeah.
But, so he's wearing a back... Boy, oh boy, good-looking dude right there.
Yeah.
20-year journey of weight loss and gain. He's chronicled all of this on his podcast, American Glutton.
Yes. I'm interested in listening to that. I want to hear his...
Louis Lastic.
Frankie
and Boy Meets World. Plays a character on My Name is Earl. Now, this I don't remember. He was a character in The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, granted, I only saw that movie once, but...
I wonder if maybe we just didn't recognize him, because that movie came out, 5 years ago, probably?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I wonder if that was during his, his big transformation.
Man.
Maybe he was in the movie and you just didn't even know.
You would have never guessed.
You didn't even recognize it was him.
The casting people didn't even know. Like, get me an Ethan Suplee. Well, do you just want Ethan Suplee? Yeah, bring him in. And then he's there that day. Hey, I thought I said bring me an Ethan Suplee. Right here, sir.
Yeah, it's funny because I watched a short video clip of him talking about... I think it looked like it was recorded while he was recording his podcast. And you see a guy talking... You're like, man, it sounds like him, but it looks nothing like him. It's one of those crazy, like, the voice doesn't match the body type scenarios.
I don't understand, though, in what earthly context, outside of what we just did here, what were we talking about Ethan Suplee for, or why were we trying to record an Ethan Suplee type?
Well, we're going to find out right now. I just handed you the...
That's not where that plugs in.
Handed you the cord that transfers audio.
The better part of a year. How are you?
Again, fantastic setup we have here.
Yeah, now I got to find it because definitely moved right past it onto other things like Steve, even the woman was sucked from the plane.
Boy, I don't remember that.
Why would we?
I'm sure we handled it in a very sensitive manner. I mean...
And the problem, so I'm trying to search, but this is a game that I eventually, I do want to play, and even scrolling through right now, oh man, Steve, I had CCD.
I remember that. Well, I know what CCD is. CCD was like the Catholic school class that you would go to once a week to learn how to...
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's why you know, and
Catechism.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because...
Even the woman that got sucked out of that plane was like, man, that sucks for you guys. That's a rough flight.
I mean, she died.
Well, eventually, yeah.
So you think this dead woman is looking at us with sorrow? I can't imagine anything worse on a flight.
I feel bad about that one.
So that was you stepping in it, and I believe that was related to our flight to and fro Boston, Logan International Airport, because we were talking...
Were we really comparing our flight to that one?
All I'm going is off context, and you compared it. I mostly heard one voice. Excuse me as I try to filibuster and try to find this Ethan Suplee one that is eluding me at this point. But speaking of flight, Steve, while I try to find this quickly,
yeah,
I just saw something via Facebook again because I refuse to listen to that Those four monkeys lobbing feces at each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I post on social media this week. You had a bit of was it a Home Alone moment? Could we describe it as that? A Home Alone in the airport moment? Rushing through the airport, trying to make a connection?
Yeah, kind of. We were flying to Nashville. So we took off from Grand Rapids, then through Atlanta over to Nashville.
And you're in a season now, by the way, where every weekend you're doing this is going to be a bit of a crapshoot.
It's
based on weather.
Yeah, exactly. Now, luckily, we don't really have any travel until like March, which is nice. So we got a little bit of a respite. But even then, March in Michigan, you're still very possibly going to hit snow. So we got on the plane, which was late getting in to begin with. So we were already behind the 8 ball.
It's always the worst.
We had to get de-iced, and we had a short layover in Atlanta, which if you've never flown through Atlanta before, it's a massive airport. And if you have to go from one terminal to another, you have to take a train. So if your layover is less than an hour or an hour and a half, it's kind of tight. So we're running late. We land. Of course, it's the perfect storm of issues. Our gate's not ready, so we're just sitting on the tarmac. So when we finally got to the gate, we were scattered throughout the plane. Joe was all the way in the front. I was closer to the back. Everyone else kind of in the middle. We were all texting with each other, like, what do we do? Do you think we should? Because we had already looked at the flight schedule. Our next flight wouldn't have gotten us there until like 11 p.m. We were supposed to get there at 2.
And then again, mind you now, for vacation travel, whatever. An inconvenience, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the idea that you then have to turn around and be up at 3:30, something like that, 4 a.m.
Well, that's Central Time Zone.
So you're losing an hour as well.
So we're going Eastern Time Zone to Central, so we're losing an hour to begin with. But so we got to the gate, and we're texting each other, and Joe basically said, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to run, because maybe if I get there and say, hey, everyone else they'll hold it 30 seconds behind me. So that's exactly what happened. Joe got on a train. He was on the train that ran 3 minutes before the rest of us. So he gets to the gate, and then he's texting us saying, you guys got to get here quick, because she's telling me even though you're on your way, there's standby passengers that are right there.
Yeah. Oh, man, that is the physical embodiment of an FU.
Yeah.
As you're standby, and you're like, I can't believe it. I'm going to make it home for my son's 5th birthday.
And then some yahoos come jogging up.
Some jerk wearing a 93.5 t-shirt from a radio station that was, disbanded 12 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. 4 owners ago.
Yeah. And then, someone just carrying an iPad trying to finish a TV show, jog past you and say, thank you so much to the gate agent, as you see that freedom slip from your grasp.
So this is as close as I've ever come to. I've missed flights before, but I've never had it like this close.
Yeah.
Except for one other time where it was like right out of the movies. They were shutting the door, and I ran up, hold that plane, and managed to slip on. But so we got there. We're running, and Joe's yelling to us from like three gates away, hurry, hurry! So we all 4 of us run up together, and then the gate agents are yelling at us. They're like, have your boarding passes out. We're here. And then the woman says, 20 seconds.
Oh my God.
We're literally standing in your line. Now you're holding us up. So all of us get out our, pull out the app and scan it.
You guys are all digital now.
And I don't think anyone, I normally, unless it's an airline, like some bizarro airline that, like there's one, I think, where you have to like download and sign up and do this and do that. And I'm like, no, I'll just print it, whatever. So, we all made it, and it was very much a Home Alone moment. It was running through, like weaving in and out of people, and
what a nightmare though. I already hate air travel, and that stress put on me would just make it 10 times worse.
Now, in that case, worst case scenario, if we had missed the flight, like I said, the next flight wouldn't have been able to get us there until 11 o'clock. We would have driven. It's Atlanta to Nashville is about 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It would have been, we would have been there a couple hours later, so it wouldn't have been the worst. But seeing as how this is the first travel of the, air quotes, season for us, we kind of want to like get it off on a good start.
Yeah.
So managed to make it in. It was great. We got there on time. Everything went well throughout the next couple of days. And then we flew home yesterday. Snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Both of those flights perfectly on time.
Really?
It was remarkable. Yeah. We woke up yesterday morning and I was looking at the weather. I'm like, here we go. It's going to be one of those days where we're going to be stranded somewhere. But we were flying Nashville to Detroit to Grand Rapids. So I figured, I'm like, okay, if we get to Detroit,
you're fine.
That is like, that's all I need.
Worst case,
because worst case, rent a car, and
you're home.
the other day we're there in a couple of hours. Both flights on time. It was incredible.
Now, where do you land it? Well, I think I know, but speaking as an inexperienced traveler, I don't fly a ton, right? I fly an occasional amount.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you land on flying during those conditions? Or more importantly, like taking off and landing in those conditions where it's snowy, ice, cold. Do you get a little extra ratcheted up for you or no?
The only reason I get a little bit more nervous is because I know it's going to delay things. It's going to take more time, and if I have a connection, there's a chance I'm going to miss it. So I get anxiety. I'm never really worried about the conditions because I don't know. There's people that are a lot smarter than me that look at charts and graphs and everything, and I put my trust in them.
Wow.
It's kind of an ignorance is bliss scenario for me.
You know who else is smarter than you? The people who made that Boeing Max airplane.
Oh, the 737 Max
killed like 5,000 people before they decided, hey, maybe we'll take this thing out of the air. But no, put your go ahead, put your faith in that, Steve. What could go wrong?
Look, nothing could possibly go wrong.
Because I'm I've always been that way. The takeoff for me, don't care. That doesn't bother me, and
so
it doesn't matter.
You're not worried about takeoff at all.
No, and I know everybody will tell me, more incidents happen on the takeoff than anything else. Whatever. It's the landing. I hate it. I hate sometimes I don't even know that you're coming down. Like if I'm asleep, I won't even know. But if I know you're landing, and I know that. Obviously you feel that first hit. Mm-hmm. I hate the bounce.
Yeah.
I hate everything. I've seen enough videos, not like I'm seeking them out, but I've seen them. You've seen them. Everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
Of those airplanes like landing at a 60-degree
Oh, yeah.
Angle.
What is it?
Like crosswinds?
Like the straight line winds or... Yeah.
Unbelievable. I don't want to know that's ever happening. Can you imagine having a window seat and looking out? Like, all right, yep, we're landing, and you see you're coming into the runway, but your window, like all you see is the runway?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I hate the bounce. I hate the the feeling that we're gonna skid off the end type of thing. Wasn't that like what Travis Barker? Isn't that what? Didn't they?
Oh yeah.
You always
no, I think that one. I think that was on takeoff, wasn't it? I thought that one actually took off and then it.
I feel like I've heard too much about
quickly came back down
about airplanes that skid off the end of a runway, and that's always in my mind. I hate the landing. Hate it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. And when we were flying during the flight from Nashville to Detroit, we had to circle for about a half hour because they were plowing the runways. So I kind of think about it then, but yeah, I don't know. I put my trust in the people that are pushing the buttons and pulling the levers.
Now, Steve, I know that was a bit of a long interjection. I want to get back to it because I have questions. I saw a tweet yesterday, and I have some questions about
the
show. But more importantly, I need to find out why you thought we needed an Ethan Suplee on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's get back to that.
Found up a bunch of segregated football players, and I make them run.
Find a guy that looks as close to Ethan Suplee as possible. Make him sing a gospel song, and that's what unites the races. We could use an Ethan Suplee these days.
Well,
that really clears things up.
Well, the only thing I can narrow down on that is it sounds like that was APS 1.0.
Because it
might as well have been me shouting to you in a bat cave.
Sounds a little echoey. A little bit. Remember that one episode? Oops.
Sorry.
Remember that one episode that we did where I didn't realize that my mic wasn't on the whole time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so your sound was all heard through this. We're in the 180s now. I don't have a damn clue how this thing has continued. With literally, I mean, we've made what? 2 improvements? Mixer and microphones?
Yeah. Yeah.
We haven't improved or changed anything about the way we do things.
We have not bought a piece of equipment in 3 years.
The biggest move we've made is you, during a recording, drilling a board into this card table.
Holding on strong, too.
Hold your microphone.
It is holding up, man. It's great. It's working great.
Oh, but anyway.
By the way, it is Sunday, January 19th, 2020, the year of our Lord. It's the Steve and Kyle podcast. 185 episodes into this little adventure.
Well, thank you for our trip down Ethan's Suplee Memory Lane. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Yeah. And before we get to it, I want to thank everybody who listened. I looked pretty good listenership for our first ever standalone Fast Five.
Yes, yeah, we had a comment about that on Friday at our live show in Nashville. Nice. Our good buddy Trevor came up and he said, I like the new format of the podcast. I like the extra Fast Five episodes. So it's going to be again every other week. Every other week Thursday
is the plan. And again, it will not be. You may have seen it and felt like it was a bit daunting. They will not all be 45 minutes. We were just kind of explaining the way that it's going to be. So
probably look in the 20 to 30 minute range, probably.
Yeah, and again, it's still in the planning phases. Couple other things Steve and I are in discussions about bringing to the podcast table here in the coming weeks and months, and we'll get to that when those arrive. I don't want to say anything now and then have you and I underdeliver.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we do, though.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever delivered. Well, you know what? We delivered a billboard.
You could cut yourself off right there. I don't think we've ever delivered.
That's right, folks. You've been listening to this. And we can't deliver a damn thing. Oh, man. But I wanted to get back to your live show. Now, this begins you said you don't have any travel now until...
I think the beginning of March.
Okay.
Which I am thrilled about. This one, it always... the first travel of the year, because it's... we did a night show in Nashville. And the show that we do, spoiler alert, if you plan on going to more than one night show for the side gig in a year, the show that we do in Nashville basically sets the table for the night show that we do the rest of the year, the other 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
It's like a band does. You know, you
get
play
your set list.
Yeah, you get your set list dialed in the first couple nights, and then you pretty much play it throughout the rest of the year. Because and then by the end of the year, it's like we're really freaking efficient at this. You know, it's like we know who's going to say what, when. I mean, not that it's scripted or anything, but like you kind of get into a rhythm, and
you know what video you're going to get to next.
Yeah, exactly. We have
what game is following.
Now everything ends up being different. Like we'll play the same games, but obviously the outcome of them is going to be different everywhere we do it. So, but the first time we do it, my stress level is through the roof. For 2 weeks leading up to it, I hate it. The only thing I like about them is the 2 hours that we're on stage doing them. But the weeks leading up to it, I'm stressed. I don't want to. I'm just worried that it's going to be crappy. And so now that this one's out of the way and we don't have any travel for 6 weeks, I was looking at our calendar yesterday when I was flying back. Like me and Annette, we have a shared calendar on our phones.
See what's going on.
So. Doctor's appointment, whatever, this, that, and the other. I was looking through it. Other than, I think 2 doctor's appointments, a dentist appointment, and a chiropractor appointment, we have nothing for 6 weeks. Nothing.
No travel.
There's not even
no family gathering.
Nope. So-and-so's birthday. Nothing.
Not getting together for President's Day with the extended family.
Nothing. We are doing nothing, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Not getting together to celebrate the St. Patrick's Day with friends and family.
No. Typically, it's not a holiday that we share with family. Well, that's a little judgment.
Take that, Irish.
I am Irish.
I guess you now know what Steve thinks of you.
Sorry to our Irish contingency listening. Apparently that's offensive.
Take that, Patty O'Houlihan.
Seamus McBlarney Stone.
Why is it with every heritage, there's names and you could just do generic names for everybody? Like, oh yeah, like any Van Wiedelstein, or you just throw 15 consonants together and you have a German family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man.
No.
But so the show went well.
Show went great. Yeah,
so
it was a lot of
sorry,
fun.
Nashville, as you just heard Steve describe. Sorry, you were the quote unquote get the kinks out show.
Oh, we talked about that on stage. They are the beta test. That is exactly how it goes.
Now, Nashville, Steve, and now I'm getting to the good stuff. Nashville, Steve, is a good market for this podcast too. We have a lot of fans down in Nashville.
We do. I saw many of them at the show on Friday morning. Saw many of them at the show on Friday night.
Now we talk with Trevor quite often via social media. I believe Chris Pruitt.
Yep.
Is he in Nashville? He drove up to Van Wert, Ohio to visit us. Very lovely area for this podcast, and one that we'll never visit because it's too big of an area.
I don't know. I think we could pull off a sweet gig there.
No, you and I would. No. We've honed in on our market.
That's right. Oh,
it's Hartford City, Indiana, Van Wert, Ohio. So if we're going anywhere in Tennessee, pick something easily 45 miles away from the metropolis that is Nashville, and then we need to find a dumb landmark that we can capitalize on and discuss. That's the mandate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the only way we're visiting Tennessee.
Sorry, Nashville. You're too big for us.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think Nashville would argue, and I also don't think our download numbers would argue.
I don't know. I bet we could scrape together 10 or 15 people.
Hey, that's as many that came to Van Wert and twice as many that came down to Boston for us. So in that case, maybe we are due for a third year.
Have you been to Nashville?
Never been.
Oh, it's a great city.
Always wanted to visit. And
great city.
I believe we have an airline here that flies, one of the budget ones that flies direct.
Yep. Yeah, I've taken that flight before.
Well,
it's fine.
I don't have to ask. I've been on the airline. I know how that goes.
Honestly,
it is what it is.
It was perfectly fine.
I would argue that airline is a step up, a slight step up, like a baby step from what we took to Boston.
Yes. Definitely.
Both in the same tier, right? The budget airlines.
Same tier.
But there's something about those bottom two that start with an S and start with an F. And to a lesser degree, a J. JB.
Yeah.
I don't know why. What are they going to advertise? It's Spirit, it's Frontier, and it's JetBlue.
Oh, man.
Oh, dang it. Look at the check. It's the representative was just walking in with a giant-sized novelty check, Steve, and now he's...
Doug, JetBlue, come back.
Come back, Jimmy Spirit. But yeah, this budget airline does appear to be a step up. So yeah, no, I'd love to visit, but I'm only going on the day that you guys are doing a live show. And again, I'm going to have a merch table in the front lobby or out front on public easement.
Yeah, of course. So that way we can't get you. So you can't get you removed. Boy, that's going to put me in an awkward spot. I'm gonna have to be Switzerland for that day. Oh, and I'm selling these guys suck T-shirts or whatever, fake signatures, the whole lot. You leave an Elton John show and you go get the Ellen John T-shirt for $5 on the corner. Ellen John, very nice. It's 2 L's. Yeah, but the second L kind of has the look of a T. So, it kind of has a little hook on the bottom of it. Oh, an Elton John shirt. You got it. It's a guy that looks kind of similar to him. It's just a cartoon drawing. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, I'd love to. I talked about it, and I'm serious. I still want to go to Hartford City, Indiana this year. Boy, Hartford City, Indiana, or Nashville, Tennessee. Well, you find me the childhood home of the inventor and savior of the overhead garage door opener near Nashville, and I'll go. Okay. But maybe he moved at some point. But unless we can do a live show near the world's biggest hairball somewhere in Nashville or Tennessee, I'm not interested. I'm a man of history. Right. Van Wert, known for, being near Fort Wayne. That's what they're known for. Hartford City, Indiana. Known, obviously, for being the home of the inventor of the overhead garage door opener that they let run into disarray, apparently. Mm-hmm.
I'd love to. We need to do a yearly podcast trip. We skipped 2018. No, yes, we did.
Did we?
We did Boston in 2017 because I had my floppy foot.
Did you see that they have one of those airlines we were just talking about? They now have direct flights from here to Boston.
Did you not? Okay, so I think you probably skipped past my text when I sent you that link because my text said, "Are you ready for a repeat?"
I'd go back now that I can fly direct.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, we flew direct just from Detroit.
We had to drive 3 hours to then fly direct.
The worst.
Terrible.
The worst. But the only problem with this airline is I don't think they do a nighttime return flight here.
Oh, okay.
So we'd end up having to stay at least overnight.
Fork out a couple bucks. Maybe get an Airbnb.
But the problem is with
stay at a listener's house.
Hey, who's in Boston?
Who wants to put us up in Boston?
We've got wasn't our friend or maybe friend? I don't know if he still listens. Dave Gordon. Didn't they live there?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Or did they just come down for a trip?
Not sure.
Adam Poravecchio. I don't know if he lives there.
I thought he would. Didn't he drive up from like New Jersey?
Yeah, he was the long haul driver, right? Adam was there. We know Zach drove down. He doesn't live in Boston. Huh.
I know we have a
listener. I know we have a listener in New York City, like Manhattan. Now, what is that? An hour and a half
from Boston? No,
yeah.
I think it's like 3 hours. 2.5. 2.
All right, clear out the loft, James. We're coming to Manhattan.
Coming over.
We've upgraded from Nashville to just outside of Nashville to Boston to now we're staying in a listener's apartment in downtown Manhattan. Thanks for the invite, James.
The Windy City.
The Magic City.
The City of Lights.
The Twin Cities.
The Romantic City.
The City of Two with Two Rivers.
City of 10,000 Lakes.
Motor City.
Yeah.
City of Angels.
So ran into some listeners, some podcast listeners while we were down in Nashville.
Yeah, did you see some merch down there?
I did. I saw the 100% Pure America shirt.
That thing has been
with, like, the shark, like eating bacon or something.
Yeah, that shirt has been, or that design by our friend Philip, who I hope you're okay out there, Philip. Haven't heard from you in some time. That shirt has been a success beyond what I thought.
Yeah, is that our bestseller?
No, I think our bestseller is the one that got the old yank,
got the old Ziggy. All right,
the old yankaroo. But so this Americana one that you're describing, it has the Steve and Kyle podcast with a bald eagle in the center. The bald eagle wearing a bandana, with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and in his right wing hand,
talon. Oh, no, that's right. He's holding it in his wing.
Yeah. Has a piece of pizza. And in the left wing, has a hand grenade. And then all of that is while this eagle is standing on a shark.
Isn't it carrying a shark?
Yeah, I guess it's carrying.
Yeah, he scooped down and
the talons are like dug in.
Yeah, scooped it out of the ocean.
Yeah, 100% pure Americana. Steve and Kyle. That's a beautiful design by Philip.
That is nice.
Beautiful.
SteveandKyle.com/merch if you're interested in that. But yeah, I saw that shirt. I saw a couple of the World Tour shirts. The OG shirt from 2017.
Now, not a rebuy of the one that I loaded onto the shirt.
No.
But an original.
Yeah, they were the original ones because it was in like the heather gray.
Sure.
Which I don't think is available on the store currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then ran into Trevor, who graciously handed over a big envelope.
Yes!
So you know what that means.
Yes!
Hey folks, viewer mail time again. Oh, here's one from Sally, age 14. Dear Pig.
I like how that last, I don't know what instrument that is.
Yeah.
Brum, brum, brum. It doesn't even get the full note out. It just cuts it off at...
No time. Places to go.
So Trevor handed me this massive envelope, which I started to open until I turned it around and saw that it was addressed to the Steve and Kyle Codcast from Trevor.
Very nice.
But come on, Trevor. It's Steve and Pyle
Codcast.
Yeah, if you're going to do it correctly.
So it's a massive, massive envelope.
Now, do you have room? Do you always kind of plan a little room for all the gifts and goodies that...
No, for this trip, though, usually when we do a night show, typically when we travel, I'll just take a carry-on bag.
Sure.
But for the night show, I need a couple extra things, like pieces of equipment and stuff. So I usually always take my bigger bag. So I had plenty of room for this time. Do you want me to open it? Do you want to open it?
No, go ahead and open it. It's already over there.
All right. Let's see. What do we have here?
Good package. I love it.
Bunch of stuff. All right, I'm just going to pull stuff out one by one. It's the Steve and Kyle podcast Christmas ornament.
Oh,
wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
That is a...
Oh,
hey, now we're talking.
Now we are talking.
A podcast classic, the Kit Kat Dark, and
you know what goes
king size.
You know what goes best with that? Another one.
Oh, keep them flowing.
You know what goes good with that?
With two of them?
Another one.
Three of them.
And hey, why 3 when you can have 4?
Oh my God!
4 Kit Kat Darks.
What a delightful,
fantastic!
haul
and
we've
another
received
and
here.
another Christmas ornament for our. A non-denominational holiday ornament.
Yeah, for God's sake!
Fantastic! Thank you very much.
Here?
Thank you very much, Trevor. This is beautiful. This will get us through those long records when we just need to break off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Dark.
Yeah. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Dark.
I think we nailed it. What is it, the Mars Company? Yeah, they should be coming in cutting us a check right now, for God's sake.
Yeah. Hey, JetBlue guy, hold the door for Mr. Cat.
Hey, somebody go get Jimmy Spirit back in here and make that jerk open the door for him.
So yeah, thank you to everybody who came out in Nashville and voiced their support for the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I did also want to get to we put up a poll and an open-ended question last week there on our social media at Steve and Kyle on Twitter and Facebook, and wanted to recap that. I did delete it off of Facebook, Steve, because one of them I typed the answers wrong, and you can't edit the poll answers.
That's right. Wasn't it
MP?
Yes, so and MP.
Yep. So one letter off on the keyboard as I'm flying through while recording, trying to do it. So obviously that's why that got deleted. But
what were the results of that one? Did a lot of people select MP?
I don't think so. So we'll get to we had 2 polls as well as the open-ended question. So the first one we'll get to. Should Steve get his pilot's license?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And that's a good amount of votes on that one, Steve. Well over 200. 83% say yes.
Then I could fly us to wherever we're going to do our little live show.
Right, and we have a friend with an airplane. I'm sure he'd let you borrow it. Mm-hmm. Just make sure,
Yeah, it's just like borrowing a car.
Fill her up with gas and...
Would you fly with me?
Leave it at the hangar? No.
Really?
Steve, no.
Not a chance?
Not a chance. I'd need to watch like 100 hours of your flying, of like your footage, before I'd feel comfortable on one of those little death traps.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe
you don't trust me? You don't think I'd be a good pilot?
It's not that. I don't trust that tiny cone of sheet metal. Is this? Aren't they mostly like where you got to step outside and kind of hang on one of the propellers and give it a big rip to get her started?
No. These have they have electric starts on them.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean the one that I'm planning on buying,
right,
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had like a system where you tied a rope around one of the around part of the propeller.
No.
You ripped it loose so that it would start spinning.
No.
I don't know that I could fly in one of those.
Really?
But weirdly, I think I'd be okay in a helicopter. But everything I've heard about people who ride in a helicopter, they said, "Oh, it'll make you sick." Just because you feel the movement, every movement you feel so much more, and it's obviously oppressively loud.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to do one of those.
You get those cool headsets, though.
I know, right?
It's basically like you're like Airwolf.
I'm pretty. Ghost Rider requesting a flyby. You're like in Top Gun.
Yeah.
You're like talking to the
Negative
tower.
Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
Yeah, talking to the tower, man.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to do one of those that you either go over the Grand Canyon or something like that out of Las Vegas type of thing.
Did you see that there's like Uber helicopter rides now from like the middle of Manhattan to JFK, the airport?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you pay like $200, but you're there in 8 minutes.
What was it? I don't know if it was a TV show or a movie I was watching, and somebody said, "I'll call you a blade." And for a moment I thought, oh, that must just be a regional ride share type of thing. Nope. It was a helicopter ride share to take you wherever. A ridiculous concept for 98% of America.
Sure.
But for for the 2%, might make a lot of sense.
Pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, hey, my helicopter's indisposed, or I just don't have mine right now.
Yeah.
I'll take a blade, from, again, downtown Manhattan to wherever, LaGuardia or JFK.
Well, there are companies that that you can sign up for. This was years ago on the radio show, and we had just had like a disaster travel weekend or something, and we were talking about it on the air, and somebody emailed and said, you need to sign up for this service that is basically like a timeshare for flights.
Okay.
So it's a private flight, and what you do is you book it, like you call them up, you say, hey, we need to get from Grand Rapids to Nashville on Thursday, and we need to fly back on Saturday. And they say, okay. And then you pay them, and then they use regional pilots, and they fly you down there. And we're like, well, this sounds like the greatest idea ever.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a subscription fee for it.
Oh, okay. So you're not just paying for the one time.
No, it was like $30,000 a month.
Just pull the.
Plus, then you had to pay for the flights. It was ridiculous.
Pull all your cash together, and you
Sure.
can. Now you've flown private once. To Texas, right?
One time, yeah, and that was a. Now look, it was not a private jet. It was a private prop plane.
Right. It's not like it was a. The plane you see The Rock getting on that he owns or whatever.
No, this was it was for a conference that we were going to put on by our syndicator, our syndication company. Once a year they have like their summer meeting where they get the whole company together, and it's kind of like a team building, rah, here we go, here's our vision for the future.
Okay.
For the next 5 years, this is what we're planning on doing.
So not the company that just fired like 50% of its staff and hired robots?
No, not the
not
AI.
That one?
Not the AI company.
Oh boy.
This is a wonderful company that we are associated with. They are an excellent partner, and they had said, hey, we want you to come down for these meetings, and the times that they wanted us to be there, we just couldn't.
Right, it didn't.
We couldn't get flights without having to take, because if we ever have to take time off, we want it to be the least amount of time as possible. Yeah. Take a Friday, okay, no big deal. But yeah, we would have had to take like 3 or 4 days off, and we're not willing to do that.
Right.
So
for a conference.
So the guy that runs that company, they use that the service I was just talking about. I think it's called PlaneSense. For him, it makes sense because they have hundreds of employees that need to travel all the time.
Everywhere.
So it's so he said, okay, I'll this one time I'll book you on PlaneSense. And we're like, hey. So we show up to the airport, and it was instead of going into the regular airport, you kind of turn off to the right, and you go to this, like, it's called like Signature Flight or something.
Okay.
So you walk in there. It's just this little building. You walk in, and we say, hey, we're here to fly to Texas. And they say, there's your plane. And you just go and get on it, and then
so
you
fly.
Fly.
Don't go through, like,
No.
You're even pre-check. You're not taking your shoes off. You're not getting...
Oh, there's no security whatsoever.
Okay.
It is...
and you were going to Texas.
Yeah.
Boy, you'd think they'd raise some alarm bell. Not raise some alarms, but, like...
It's a private service,
that's
though.
A drug smuggling
Yeah.
area.
There's no... Yeah, I guess I don't know anything about how all of that works.
Yeah, one guy tries to blow up a plane with a shoe. We're taking our shoes off, unless you're rich enough to buy your own plane.
Sure.
Then
yeah.
it's okay.
Well, that's the whole scam of TSA PreCheck.
Oh, no question. No question.
They're like, oh, yeah, well, we're cracking out on security. Oh, you want to pay $85? No problem. Walk right on through.
Now,
that lasts for 5 years, too.
Now, here's the question I have, because let's say you got your pilot's license. Mm-hmm. Just the two of us. You, me, 2 backpacks, and we're flying to, the regional Hartford City, Indiana airport, which I don't know why we would, but let's just use it, because it's 3 hours away anyway. We could just drive. Wouldn't the cost simply outweigh, like, a commercial flight there? Like, how much is jet fuel?
I have no idea.
Like,
these are questions I do not have the answers to.
Like, obviously, I think it's something that would benefit for the convenience. It's like, hey, we can leave around 3 on Thursday.
Yeah.
Instead of having to book and say, well,
Sure.
they have an 8 a.m. or 11 p.m. Those
Yeah,
are the two
I mean,
options.
there's obviously a break-even point where
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to do something
Right.
like that. But who knows? Maybe it would. I mean, if you need to be somewhere at a certain time,
Yeah.
and you can't find any other way to get there,
Just like you and me would go crash Radio Row in Miami.
yeah,
Just pull in, just fly in with our little 2-seater
Let's
into whatever.
just land right on Radio
Yeah.
Row.
Just whatever regional airport they have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, call an Uber. You, me, the mixer, 2 lavalier mics or whatever. Hawk it over to Radio Row.
Oh, that would
Or
be-
no. Like, obviously, you've been there.
I've never been to Radio Row.
Oh, you didn't go? You
No,
were back
I've never.
that's right.
I've never done Radio Row.
But you were familiar with the process. You
Yeah.
were around, and you said the process was, I believe, a nightmare of getting approved and getting everything
well,
on.
and then it's just Radio Row. You think, I don't know. When I hear Radio
Awful.
Row, I think it's going to be almost like a red carpet, and and everyone's kind of sitting there. But no, you're just shoved in a conference room in a hotel
It's a convention center with folding tables.
with some of the loudest talkers.
Oh, yeah.
you've ever met, and they're all talking loud just to talk over the next one.
Yeah, and my favorite way is the way Dan Lebitard describes Radio Row, and he refuses to go. Is he says it's always shows, and as an example of a name, it's like Billy and the Bear, and one's wearing an Eagles jersey, and the other one's got plumber's crack,
Right.
and they're just waiting for their chance to talk about Cheerios with Emmett Smith.
Hey, tell me about the new multigrain Cheerios.
So you get 3 questions, and knowing those shows, they're taking it way too seriously, and they're like, hey, how do you think the 49ers are going to be able to stop the Kansas City Chiefs passing offense?
Yeah.
All right, now tell us about the new multi-grain Honey Nut Cheerios. Like,
And
there's
it
nothing
works.
less interesting, though.
But it works because it's always the same.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't keep doing it that way if it didn't work. Because you're on the biggest stage on all of the biggest radio stations. And if they get like 1% of people to be like, hey, let me buy some Honey Nut Cheerios, that far outweighs the investment.
I think you and I, because I don't want to go through that whole process of dealing with the NFL, and no thank you. Next thing you know, they'll listen back to Sports Tate and realize that I think they're corrupt and awful.
Imagine that. It's someone's job at the NFL to listen
To vet.
to vet all of the Billy and the Bears.
Yeah.
And this, hey, Commish, I'm listening to this podcast called Sports Tate. Oh, Sports Take. What's that about? No. Sports T and the number 8. And this guy, Kyle, doesn't think much of you.
Yeah. Some very nasty words. Should we approve his corner folding table at Radio Row in Miami that he probably can't afford the flight to anyway? I think you and we plan this out, Steve. What do you think you'd have your pilot's license? 2-3 years?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if I set my mind to it, like I was talking about last week, I would probably try to do it in the shortest amount of time possible.
Yeah.
So maybe over a 3-month period, I'd really like hit the books. And like honestly, this time of year would be the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's lightest on travel. Obviously, with a 4-month-old baby, probably not the ideal time. So yeah, maybe push that back a year.
Yeah, but it's fine because, when you have
take her with me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do
hold
they make car seats for
Who
airplanes?
needs it? I'll hold on to her. What's a flight to Miami in a prop plane? 2?
Probably pretty long.
Probably 5. Probably 6. Not exactly a jetliner speed.
No, and you might have to stop. For fuel.
Because here's what I
Although
think.
no, I flew our flight to Dallas was direct.
And you didn't have to stop.
No. Although I have no idea about Texas geography. I don't know if that's
So we just need a
north,
Super Bowl
south.
that's within a tank of gas.
Sure.
Because again, I'm not doing
Detroit?
the land. I'm
Yeah,
not doing
we'll
the
fly to
landing.
Detroit.
I'm not doing the landing thing twice. I told you, I'm terrified. I think
Would you be my co-pilot? Like if I needed some like gauge readings or something.
Let me say
Hey,
this.
What's the hey Kyle? What's the altimeter reading?
I'll be your co-pilot as much as you were my co-pilot on our drive back from Boston.
Well, look, there were circumstances.
Yeah, what were they?
We'll call them cannoli that were preventing me from feeling well.
Well, no, I more mean the pack a pillow
Yeah.
recline the chair,
Yeah.
pass out.
Well, I wouldn't have done that if, like, I brought that more for just comfort.
Sure.
Just to lay the seat back and have a nice pillow. I wasn't planning on sleeping, but
The cannoli.
the cannoli did me dirty.
That's how much I'll help you out.
Appreciate that. I don't think the seats in an airplane, like in a little Piper Cub, I don't think they recline.
So you and I, you're going to get your pilot's license.
Yes.
We're going to fly into the regional airport near Radio Row because we're not going to go with all the schlubs at the international down the road.
No, we're going to the private.
Yep.
The private jet port.
Hey, Jimmy, pull us into the hangar and give her a wash while we're gone.
Flip the keys to him. Are there keys?
Flip her
Airplanes
keys
have
in a 20 and say, put it in a nice spot.
Yeah, be sure to spit shine it for us.
And because
get the tires this time.
And because we don't want to go through the hassle of dealing with the NFL, we're just going to park, again, this is my new plan for everything, on public easement outside the local convention center or hotel where they're going to have
I'm
Radio
sure there's
Row.
a ton of street parking outside of Radio Row.
No. You and I, just our folding table.
Oh, okay.
On the sidewalk or on a road that's probably closed off because they've got, they've always got events like, hey, punt, pass, and kick tournaments. Plenty of roads closed off. You and I just park a folding table. We'll have a pop-up, banner or something behind us to show what we're doing. And we get all the celebrities as they're walking in. So we got Emmett Smith talking Honey Nut Cheerios.
Because you think he's just going to be strolling down the street, walking in.
Absolutely. We're going to have Gronk tell us about Rogaine. We're going to have, Dan Marino talk about his Hooters chicken wings at his restaurant, whatever. Okay? We're going to get all of them.
I mean, it's brilliant.
And then we're going to pack up shop, and we'll be home before Evelyn's in bed.
We'll be home before the game even starts.
No question. That's the plan.
That's a great idea.
Again, I just have to get over my fear of flying with you.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, this whole plan is in place.
After that, the poll is Rush without Neil Peart. Neil Peart passed away last week.
I've been corrected that it is pronounced Peart.
Oh, for God's sake.
Neil.
Who corrected you?
Neil Peart.
Who corrected you?
Basically, the world. Because everyone... Actually, I haven't been directly corrected, but I think the world in general apparently knows that it's Neil Peart.
Listen, world. There's like 2 drummers anyone gives a damn about. One's because he had sex with Pam Anderson in the 90s.
Okay, yeah, Tommy Lee.
And the other one is because he nearly died in an airplane crash. We talked about him earlier, Travis Barker.
John Bonham was pretty good.
Who?
Led Zeppelin.
Bono?
No, Bonham.
Now, is this the Sonny or the U2 one?
Both, actually.
Because one's still got some skin on a tree down a ski hill, right?
That's Sonny Bono.
I don't see the difference here.
All right, moving on. How'd that poll come out?
80%, Steve, said no. Now, before I deleted the poll, and again, I've texted you. And
you deleted that one too?
No, on Facebook. Just that one. Okay. Because that's the one I couldn't change the answer.
Oh, that was yes.
And I told you before, for whatever reason on my phone, I can't post polls on Facebook, so it died on the vine. But before it was deleted, there were some comments kind of agreeing with me and to a lesser degree you, saying that drummers are among the least integral part of a band.
Yeah, I think generally that's true. But I think
like
in
the
that
bass guitar.
I don't think I think in that case he was kind of in a league of his own.
Was he?
Yeah. Or are people just saying that because he's dead?
I think there's always a reverence after people pass away, famous band or not. Like, it's always, I was on the radio this past week. It was like Stuart Scott week on ESPN, who passed away 5 or 6 years ago. And the thinking was, well, why didn't everybody treat him so nicely when he was alive? Now, he became incredibly popular, but early on, Stuart Scott was one of the first sportscasters who was African-American and was a legitimate superstar and received a lot of hate that way. I wonder if I think it's just you pass away and there's, oh, man, look what we had.
It makes sense. I mean, you try to not look at the negative, especially when someone's not there anymore. You try to just think of them in the positive light that, that they were in.
But does that extend as
like you don't want to spit on somebody's grave and be like, oh, good, they're dead. They were they were an a-hole.
Yeah, but boy, did you see, and this is a digression, but did you watch any of the Aaron Hernandez documentary? I know you've been traveling.
I've watched the first 2 episodes last night.
Yeah, now there is...
That Man, that is shocking.
Now I know
that whole scenario.
you're more limited on time in terms of what you listen to, but I listened to it last year when it came out. This is accurately described as the Cliff Notes version of what the Boston Globe did 1 year ago with a podcast called Gladiator.
Okay.
And it was this entire story that the Boston Globe's investigative team, the same investigative team that was featured in Spotlight, the movie that discussed the, really the uncovering of the Boston Catholic Church sex scandal.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an outstanding job on this podcast discussing Aaron Hernandez's life and death. And this was kind of the Cliff Notes version of it. So for me, it was a lot of rehashed, but I would highly recommend to anybody who's interested in this case to go back and listen to it, Gladiator by the Boston Globe. But he's one of those guys, yeah. And I think it's said to anybody who's a convicted murderer. There were, like, Shannon Sharpe on his Fox Sports talk show after he died.
Yeah.
Like, I have no sympathy for him and that path. And
yeah, I mean, it's in his case. I think it's different when there's definitely differences between obviously how people look back and remember somebody like Stuart Scott,
sure,
and how people are going to look back and remember a convicted murderer, possibly 3-time murderer.
But I think a lot of that changes too because there's so much more focus on, well, look at, he had the brain of a 50-something-year-old and his upbringing was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, it's sad to say, but it seemed like he was kind of doomed from the beginning.
Yeah, and it didn't,
and it just took, it took until his early 20s for it to all catch up to him.
Yeah, and in the podcast I believe that I listened to, they mentioned there was a few people who said the worst thing that could have possibly happened to him was being drafted by the New England Patriots.
The worst thing?
Because it's close to home and it was close to all the bad people that ended up being associated
with. Yeah, a
with.
friend of his said that he was hoping he'd be drafted to Seattle, San Francisco.
Get away from that crowd, and obviously that didn't happen and tragedy ensued. But yeah, very good. And it's not like we're unveiling new information to people. That's been the talk of social media this week is this documentary, and it is very good. But I highly recommend seeking out Gladiator.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, or Gladiator, yes, but if you haven't seen the Aaron Hernandez documentary, it's on Netflix. It's called Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez, and I'll link it in the description.
I feel like that's like naming it that's going to be that's going to end up being a series. There's going to be another one next year, another 3-part about whatever. Maybe I doubt OJ.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been
it's been done
obviously. But yeah, that was. I'm looking forward to watching the third one today.
It was an outstanding documentary, and if you're interested in that case, it's a must watch.
Yeah.
And lastly, we posted asking about what is the one thing that you want to do that would shock your friends or family.
So that was kind of inspired by
the pilot's license. Yep.
Did you have one?
No, I didn't.
Like you always wanted to like get into gymnastics or something.
No,
like you really want to dominate the uneven parallel bars.
I'm not a real like world traveler guy, but I've always wanted to up and move.
Just like that.
Yep. Just find a spot. Now, obviously, I like it here, and it's not going to happen. But when I was in my 20s and teens, like just the idea of just moving to California or
Southern, Northern.
But then, I also had the same idea about the Pacific Northwest at one point. Just like, oh, that seems awesome. But then I became enamored of the East Coast. So it went...
Yeah.
The idea of me up and moving somewhere and living just somewhere totally different and random was always something that intrigued me. And for a lot of years, like Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, that area down by Baltimore, that area was high on the list.
Yeah.
High on the list. So that would be mine.
For me, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it, but I think there's a real possibility that at some point, like Annette and I kind of have this, it's this like dream that, it's long term, this would be great for retirement, to just buy a small piece of property, like somewhere wooded, and ideally it's like right on a lake or right on a river or a stream or something. Buy a small piece of property and build like either a tiny cabin or
a log cabin off the grid.
Are you familiar with like the whole tiny house thing?
Yep.
That I think that there's a good possibility that we will do that at some point in our lives.
So dumb.
Okay. Well, you're not invited for game night.
Where would I sit?
You sit out front.
In the loft attic roof? Or the breakfast nook?
What don't you like about tiny
or
houses?
the breakfast nook bathroom garage? Where would I sit? Because it's stupid. You still have to buy the property it sits on. The property it sits on is going to be a certain size anyway. No, I'm not saying you have to build a house from border to border, but at least build a house that's functionally useful.
Yeah, but I like the idea of not needing, like, only building what I need. Being a little sustainable.
Right. So you're going to throw, what, a quarter of a solar panel on your roof?
No, stick a couple solar panels up there.
So it's going to be big enough for a couple. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be,
All right.
I don't know, 120 square feet maybe.
I've seen it, and for me, it's that's now bordering on almost this weird hipster phenomenon.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. Now, I mean, once there are TV shows about it, then yeah, it's getting into the mainstream. But for me, it reminds me of, like, you know, when I was a kid and, like, you want to have a treehouse or a fort or something. And I like the idea of a small space because it forces you to, like, say we had this beautiful piece of property that overlooked a lake or something. If I'm going to go there for a week or for a weekend, I don't want to spend time inside. I think that it would force me to be outside, be hiking or kayaking or something like that. I like the idea of it just being a little tiny space. It's easy to maintain. It's simple, but it's because I can't afford to have a vacation home somewhere.
Oh, sure.
I can't afford to have this, like, you know, this nice place up in the mountains or anything.
Yeah, but I also think there's a difference between, you know, this weird palatial, you know, lake palace compared to, you know, a log cabin with a couple of rooms.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Log cabin, I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. Like, I mean, a small log cabin. We rented one of them a couple of years ago, a couple summers ago.
It wasn't Lake Tahoe, was it?
No. This is we went up to the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, okay.
And it was just for a weekend. And I guess it would probably be described as a tiny home because it was probably like you walk in and it's kitchen to the right, small living room to the left, bathroom in the back, and small bedroom that was basically big enough for the bed and a very tiny dresser.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was just this, like, there was a wood stove in there, and it was rustic, which
Yeah.
was, I really like that whole idea. But I also like there's the tech side of me that I like stuff that's
New.
yeah, I
A
like
little modern. Maybe not
Exactly.
modernize is the word, but I get what you're saying.
like I want to be in a log cabin, but I want there to be
Wi-Fi.
instead of Wi-Fi, and instead of having a TV hanging on the wall, I want there to be like the projector on the ceiling that just aims at the wall, so it still looks rustic, but it's nice and modern too.
Yeah, you let me know when you're going to do that because I was real good with Lincoln Logs.
I was pretty good with Lincoln Logs too.
I think you and
honestly that's where it all that's
so
where it
you
all
and
comes
I
from.
we're going to get the logs and then we'll just cut out those notches.
Yeah,
And we'll just stack them on top of each other. Done.
So we're building a log cabin.
Right after the pool. But some of the comments on what is one thing you want to do that would shock your friends and family on Facebook. Kristen Burkhart, who I believe is friend of Doug.
That is
Doug's girlfriend,
my
right?
buddy Doug's girlfriend. Yeah.
Learn to weld. That was the weirdest one we got because that's actually that's that's something that could help you.
Yeah, and I met Kristen, Annette and I met Kristen for the first time. Doug's been dating her for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. We finally met her for the first time over Christmas when we were back in New Jersey. And just a wonderful woman. But you look at her and you're like, she's not a welder.
Right.
So that is the perfect example of what we were looking for. You know, you wouldn't expect, like if I said, oh yeah, I want to learn how to weld.
Yeah.
You'd probably say, yeah, it sounds about right.
On Twitter, our friend Jeremy Koss said, I want to be arrested. Handcuffs, cop car, booking, jail, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
I'm
hoping that not for something like serious.
Well, he had said, but I'm never going to commit a crime because of the ramifications. Yeah. I think it's just the see
You just
what
want
it's
to
like.
you want to go through the.
You've seen it a
I'm
billion
sure there are
times.
programs that like a Scared Straight
Yeah.
type program
For
where,
adults.
where they'll do that.
Hey, I'm a 35-year-old man. I have a job and a family, but I think I'm headed down the wrong path.
I have a couple days off next week. Do you think you could arrest me?
Betsy McCormick, our friend on Twitter, move somewhere completely new.
All right, so that appeals to you too.
Yep. I'm not going to read that one from Chris Kaminsky. You're not funny. That's rude. He said your mom.
Thought you weren't going to read it.
Yeah. Trevor in Nashville. Show them my tattoo I got. Now, he sent us a picture of this before. I believe it's a lightsaber. I apologize if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Because in all their eyes, I'm going to hell for marking my body now. He did it around a scar on his arm.
I think that's... I like when I see people that do that. Like if they had a really bad accident or something and they, had to have surgery. Or like, God forbid, somebody had to have like a limb amputated or something. And they do a cool tattoo that like kind of makes them look at it and be like, ha, that's cool.
Yeah, and I did that myself. I did that with my Achilles scar. So
I remember seeing one where a woman had... I forget what, there was like some tumor or something that she had removed from her arm. So she had a really bad scar. And she was really into, I guess steampunk type artwork.
Yeah.
Where it's like mechanical and gears and everything. So she had this tattoo.
Oh, that's cool.
Where it was like, it looked like the skin was folded back and you could see like the inner workings.
That's
like
neat.
It was like gears and cables and pulleys and
I like
everything.
that. I don't have the resolve to get something that in depth done. And before we do get any questions on social media, it is the tattoo I got over my scar is simply a red balloon. The balloon string kind of traces the scar line, and alongside it says "We all float down here" from Stephen King's It.
Yes,
So
the
in
movie
case
with the
anybody-
bat. Spooky.
Mask.
Ooh, things that go bump in the night. Oh, look, a clown.
Mitchell said he wants to jump out of an airplane. I think that's a one that a lot of people probably have, but that's one that you always think about, and a lot of people just don't go through with it because it's a decent amount of planning and cost, and you have to go through a class in the morning, and obviously you're.
Hey, I could fly the plane though.
Hey,
I could start a skydiving school.
do they allow that out of just like a 2-seater prop plane? If somebody leapt, wouldn't the plane rock back and forth?
Yeah,
And
I guess
lastly,
that's good point.
my dear friend, dear friend, Travis Branch, maybe my best friend, on Facebook said he wants to lay on the car horn during neighborhood movie night.
It's just rude.
It's a smart man.
It's just rude.
And as a tease, I believe, Steve, next week I need an update. We set a goal a few weeks ago.
Are we 2 weeks in now?
Is this 2 or 3? I think it's 2, so maybe it is 2 weeks away. You're at the halfway point then.
I have a sort of update.
No.
Right now?
No.
No. It's not. It was. I have simply an observation.
I mean, Steve, we've got an A bit to sell.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now. Something I noticed yesterday when I got home. The new neighbors, the one who has ignored me many times, ignored you many times. There's a U-Haul in the driveway.
Oh.
So either they haven't really moved in yet,
Or
I've already forced them out.
that's it. I got a postcard from this app. It's not happening.
I sent them one too.
He's snowblowed my driveway. This a-hole won't leave our family alone.
Yeah.
We're in witness protection, and I can't make friends right now. We have to move. Next stop, Van Wert, Ohio.
They're moving. Hey, before we wrap this up, I have a quick piece of audio that I would like to play for you.
Oh, okay.
Now I have to go and edit the audio real quick and find it.
Because
what I of its parts, and that means a bit of despair
18.
for a long period
this
of time.
sounds like our.
And you were a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Poison the well. I like to do when I'm going. Sorry, I'm coughing.
Yeah, or like Noah Baumbach movies.
Yeah.
We had a comment from a listener and fellow podcaster, our friend.
There it is.
But he talks about like how awesome this guy Bruce Springsteen is. So sorry.
Something relatable? Sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, especially this guy. You know, you could take our word for it, or you can dive in yourself.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. The whole first season's on. You have Mad About You season 1.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. It's actually longer than I thought. It's like 2 minutes.
Then we'll have to go right away.
All right. So for a little background, this is our buddies Frank and Eric, and I was listening to an episode a couple weeks ago, and they had some bad words about a hero of ours, Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. Okay. Now I have problems. Now Frank is a East Coast guy.
Frank is from the Garden State, from Jackson, New Jersey.
No longer, because I've now taken his place.
Right.
I am now honorary New Jerseyan, as Frank is apparently going to be booted here in a second.
So I quickly went to their Facebook page and I typed out a message to them, and here's them discussing it on their most recent episode.
We had a comment from a listener and fellow podcaster, our friend Steve. He has a great podcast called the Steve and Kyle Podcast. I am assuming we were inspired. Our naming sequence inspired them for their podcast.
Yeah.
So the Steve and Kyle, I would check it out if you're interested. It's on
You're welcome, Steve and Kyle.
Spotify or I don't know, wherever you get podcasts. He said, listening to the Growing Pains episode currently, I thought our podcast had a lot in common until you guys blasphemed one Bruce Springsteen. Now you're dead to me. I'm sure Kyle would agree.
Yep. Well, you know.
So that's all you. It's all Eric Price.
Listen, I'm pretty sure I walked that back a little bit after I...
Would you say in the bar that he's terrible or something?
No. I said that he sucked. But I only said that...
Nothing doesn't suck.
In the context of the moment, I was in elementary school... And I was pretty much listening to nothing but like Metallica and stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, everybody talks about like how awesome this guy Bruce Springsteen is. And then I hit play and I was like, what is this rock sax bullshit?
Right. So we've evolved. We respect the boss.
Yes. I've grown to appreciate him.
It's not part of our current cycle of music. It's on the current playlist, if you will.
Right.
It might, maybe a track could make it on a Super Sad, Super True.
When I'm on like a road trip, I like to throw on some Bruce Springsteen.
When it's, when you don't care what you're listening to, kind of vibe. When like whatever's on. Yeah.
Not okay.
So sorry.
I like Frank's description of it. When you're in a I don't care what I'm listening to kind of vibe.
That's unacceptable, by the way.
Not cool, Frank. Not
Frank,
cool. Well, it's more Eric. Got real beef with Eric.
Now the rivalry continues because the boss isn't some throwaway listen to while your mind's afloat. Okay, the boss is spinning yarn on a track by track and sometimes a full album by album basis. Okay?
Now that was on their most recent episode where they reviewed an episode of the 90s hit starring Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt, Mad About You.
Oh, beautiful.
Fantastic.
They're now revived Mad About You.
Frank and Eric podcast, frankanderic.com, if you want to check that podcast out. So thank you guys for walking that back a bit because we were really offended.
I only accept my apologies one way, though. Handwritten. And delivered by the United States Postal Service or by hand.
Or by courier.
By courier. So I will anticipate that in the near future.
All right, I'm sure that they'll get right on that. All right, thanks for listening again this week. Next week we will have regular episode on Tuesday. Yep. We will have Fast 5 episode on Thursday, but wait, hold on. Oh, I don't think this is the right one. It's this one.
Yes. That's right. Live from the Steve and Kyle Podcast News Desk, coming this week, the return of Sports Tate. This week. I think that was my best one yet.
It could have been. It's the first one you didn't get cut off. All right.
That's this week. I will...
Sports Tate coming back.
Back in the lab.
The sports lab.
been spending these few months.
Wait, no. You can just use, instead of the lab, you can use the discussion den. We don't use that
that's
anymore
right.
since the March Madness tournament is over.
I've been in the lab playing with the Play-Doh of sports tates, just molding them and formulating them for the right time to come back. I'll be back this week and record one. So anybody, why I don't know. If you're interested, that'll be back this week.
When are you going to record that? What day?
It'll probably be released Friday.
So when do you record?
Probably Wednesday, I think, this week.
Got nothing to do Wednesday.
You want in? All right, I'm coming over.
I was hoping to come to the lab.
I got one microphone.
That's
you
right.
want to share?
Yeah, we'll just pass it back.
That's fine. Steve's in. You heard it first. The very first guest on Sports Tape.
All right.
Sports guru Steve.
All right, thanks for listening. You can check us out Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Steve and Kyle. Do we have any polls this week?
No, I didn't post anything this week.
All right, well, maybe we'll come up with something.
Who cares?
Talk to you next week.